Well, what can I say about our next guest, apart from the fact that he's a rock and roll phenomenon? Here he is, here he is. How are you?
I feel great, Lorraine. You look marvellous. How are you?
I'm very well. You
Michael.
always look
Oh,
marvellous.
very nice to see you.
You're looking well. Now, you're telling all in a new book, aren't you?
Yeah, well...
is it warts and all? Is it...
Yes, warts and all. Actually, I had a wart when I was a kid.
Did you? How did you get rid of it?
It's gone. I think there was a bit of that frozen ice stuff, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But it's great doing the book. I'll tell you how it came about, really. That we heard that there was a couple of people who were going to do a biography.
Right.
And so the publisher said, do you want to do an autobiography? And I said, well, I'm much too young, you know. Because you think of people like David Niven and all that Moons of Balloon and stuff, you know. And I said, well, I'll write it with Lloyd Bradley, who is with The Independent. And I spoke into a tape recorder and I said, if it seems interesting, then maybe we'll put it out, you know. And I didn't realise I've been in the business for 33 years. I made my first record when I was 14. And it was great because you do things about, there's a lot about my childhood. For an example, the Gang Show. I was in the Gang Show doing What Should We Do with a Drunken Sailor?
Were you the star? I bet you were.
Well, no, I think I was just in the gang, really.
Yeah.
The leader bit didn't come till much later on. And but when you think about that, you know, and of course it developed into the Gang Show now.
Was it hard, though, to remember all that, to remember the past, you know, going right back to your childhood? Was that difficult? Was it a painful process?
Not really. The childhood was quite interesting because there was a lot of things that happened to me. I mean, you know, up until the age of 10, I lived in Banbury in Oxfordshire, and then my mum was between marriages, so we got put, my brother and I, Tony, got put into a children's home, and once you go into those institutions, you know, it was only supposed to be for a couple of weekends, but in fact it turned out for 2 years. That was quite painful, and that's in the book. I mean, there was things like, I'm a vegetarian today, but in those days I could only eat meat, and they used to stick the meal in front of me at every meal. Can you imagine it?
What,
I mean,
if you didn't
what a
finish
terrible
it?
thing. And if you didn't finish it, you know. And the kids at school used to bring me chocolate to keep me alive.
Poor wee soul. Now, people talk about, you know, the American dream, but you lived like the American dream. I mean, you lived the way people think, I'd love to live like that. I mean, you really, really lived to the excess. You just did everything, you know, giant-sized. It was incredible. What do you think was your biggest
Well, this
success?
is not a rehearsal.
Well, exactly.
That's what I think.
Exactly,
You've really got to go for it, haven't you? If you can. I think I made a few mistakes, but...
but you must have had a good time making them.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I didn't have a... You see, I did. I did. I do. But if, you know, if you suddenly you make, like, you know, what do you do as a kid, right? You either become a rock and roll singer or you play football. Really, don't you?
That's the dream, isn't it?
I mean, those are dreams. And I was very fortunate enough to become a rock and roll singer. And I was very fortunate to make, you know, a couple of million quid. So suddenly you get all that money in one go. It's like winning a football balls, you know. And so you know, it's in the Elvis Presley handbook of how to be a rock star. You've got to have a mansion, you know. You've got to buy your mum a house and all that. So I had this lovely, great big mansion. And then, of course, you know, you get all house proud, you know, want to get the curtains up and you want to do the kitchen. I mean, I love cooking, so there was the most amazing kitchen. I mean, in 1972, I paid £25,000 for a kitchen. Now, that was a lot of money then. It was still a lot of money, you know.
Still a lot of money. But you were also very generous. I mean, in the book, you talk about these huge, big parties that you have, big barbecues and everything like that. I mean, you really threw your money around. It wasn't just, you weren't selfish about it.
No.
It was as if you were having such a good time, as if you said, oh, well, you know, the more the merrier sort of thing. You know, you had a lot.
Well, it's no good being stingy, is it? I mean, you know, and the thing is, all my pals didn't have, most of my pals at school and stuff didn't have any dough, you know, any money. So really, you know, you just like to flash out and give them a good time. Eventually, of course, you lose a lot of them because they actually feel a little bit intimidated by the fact they can't take you out for dinner and stuff like that, you know. But Rod, later on I went out with Rod and Elton and some of the Paul McCartney. It's all in the book.
It is indeed,
and,
yes.
you know, it was very funny because Rod's always got a reputation for being a bit tight, you know. It's nothing to do with Scottish,
it certainly
the
is
Scotland
not.
thing.
No.
But we used to, you know, you daren't go to the loo, because if you went to the loo, when you came back, the bill was in your place, you know, and they'd move the bill around the table.
Was it though the crash when it came, sadly, was that inevitable, do you think? Was that
I think so, on reflection, yeah. I mean, I didn't realise that I was drinking so much and doing drugs, you know. And I know the kids are on holiday this week, so, you know, go out running every day. It's a much better way. Forget the drink and drugs, you know, completely. And come and see the gang show.
Absolutely.
Which really, I mean, when you think that I'm 47 years old, but I'm out there doing, I mean, most of the people in my gang are about 20, 24 years of age.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not only in the audience, but on stage.
Yeah.
And they have trouble keeping up with me. I mean,
Right.
we kick off at Mallard Park in Peterborough this year on December the 6th. Oh, Glasgow's nearly sold out
I
already.
bet it will be completely
And we're doing
sold out, it
Wembley,
always
Sheffield, GMEX in Manchester. Oh, and this year I'm doing Shepton Mallet, which is the closest one to the area I live in the West Country.
Oh,
Because a
great.
lot of people are a bit sort of said, well, where are you in Bristol? We're at Shepton Mallet this year. All arenas.
So you're
Yeah.
everywhere?
I'm really excited about it. Also, I've got the new album. I've got to tell you about that. No, because honestly, it's taken me, you know, that bankruptcy and all that stuff.
Yes, yes.
It's taken me 7 years to get the money together to actually put the album out. And last year I went on stage and I said, all right, we're with Virgin Records, they've signed us. Anyway, that deal fell out of bed and didn't work.
Right.
And so I thought, well, okay, I'll put my money where my mouth is, and I promised everybody an album, and so
You're going
there
for
it is. I've started my own record company called
Good for
Attitude
you.
Records.
Attitude, have an attitude.
Come on, everybody, no need for hesitation. As part of your rock and roll education, you wanna make it, you wanna crack it. Pick up the guitar, forget the tennis racket. Are you ready? Are you ready? Say yeah.
Yeah,
Are you ready to rock and roll?
wonderful.
New
That is
single.
brilliant.
Do you like the new
Yes,
single,
I do
Mike?
very much.
Yeah,
We
well,
played it earlier
Leader
on.
too. I mean,
What can you
Leader
say?
too.
Leader to, I tell you,
How
this
Radio
album,
3's changed over the years. eh? Gary, we're going to have to move on.
All right.
But just the stare, your book's very amusing about how the stare, somebody said, what? Open your eyes wide. And you
stare?
suddenly started to stare like a maniac. And
Yeah,
that-
my gran said, when you walk in the room, stop squinting. You know how kids sometimes go in there
Yes,
like that.
yes.
So I walked in the room always like this, you know. And ever since then, if anybody wants a picture of me, they always go, do the stare.
Because if you're sitting on something.
Are you ready? I said, are you ready to rock and roll?
We are
Well
always
done.
ready to rock and roll.
Well done, Gary. It's always good
Brilliant.
value, isn't it? Mr. G. Glitter, you've sat through patiently there, and an interesting story it was too. Were times different way back, do you think? Groups allowed to develop, groups given time?
Yeah, when I started, I think that you always thought that you'd be in show business, or you try to be in the record business for life. And I think today maybe some people don't get the opportunity to discover how much talent they really have. I've been very lucky. I mean, the public have stuck with me over the years, and we've had no end of hit records. And you know, if you take it from Rock and Roll Parts 1 and 2, right the way through Leader of the Gang, Hello, I'm Back, all those, you know, I was allowed to develop my style. I mean, glitter, you know, I could bring on the glitter to now when people say, oh, you're not wearing so much glitter, and I always say, you know, but I'm working on the glitter on the inside, you know. But all this thing takes time for you to develop. I mean, Marilyn Monroe, I think, was another person who, to begin with, was looked at as a blonde bombshell, but later on became a really great actress, and only because she had the time to explore that, you know.
And she was fun. If
Oh,
you
she
go
was
on
a
about
lot of
sex,
fun,
She
yeah.
was fun.
Yeah.
That's the thing about
She
Marilyn
looked good
Monroe.
too, didn't she, Mike? I mean,
I have to tell you, Gary, that Marilyn had a pin that said, don't be bitter, glitter.
is that right?
Oh,
Gary.
that'd be your
Yes.
motto, so good.
Gary, we're going to take a diabolical liberty with you.
Yeah.
We're going to ask you to come back, right? Because the curtain's got to close on us right now, because there's a madman called Mallet who's going around Scotland. But you are arguably the most important man in the universe. This is an acknowledged fact. You are the leader,
Leader!
and you will come back, will you?
Yes,
so that we
I-
can acknowledge the almost Da Vinci range of your achievements.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Gary, thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
very much.
Thank
See
you
you
very
on tour.
We will
Yes.
take a break.
We will.